Welcome to my channel. My name is Ayonna Marcella, and today we're doing something a little different. We are wine tasting. So for those of y'all who really know me, y'all know that I am, to put it simply, a jack of all trades. I've tried all types of things, from styling to filmmaking to being on camera to actually being a sommelier. I had a short stint as a sommelier, yes I did, which is crazy, but I did. So that left me with some knowledge, right? So I understand how to properly taste wine. I think that wine is becoming a little more mainstream for at least Black America. I don't know what everybody else is doing, but I feel like we're being more open to the idea of really enjoying wine. So I wanted to give y'all a couple of tips today on how to properly sip a glass of wine if you were gonna get into that sort of thing, you know. So, first things first, I have a glass in front of me, and a Pinot Noir glass. Shout out to Pinot Noir down in Houston, Texas. The city of Houston's first and only Black-owned winery and tasting room. They are downtown Houston. So first thing I wanna note about this glass of wine. Clearly, this is a glass of red wine. I don't want to assume anything. I don't want to assume we know not one thing about wine. For those of y'all who may not know, whatever the case is, this is red wine. You have red wine, you have white wine, you have rosés, you have even like orange wine. You have all types of wine, but most commonly what you're gonna see is either red wine or white wine. And from my experience and my own personal knowledge, red wine is gonna be the wine that's less sugary. It kind of gets down to like a more deep taste. Like it's gonna pack the punch that you're looking for. If you're looking to get lit, red wine to me is the better option. White wine, there are some that kind of pussyfoot around, you know, the alcohol content. You got your Pinot Grigios, you got your Chardonnays, which to me, if you're gonna go white and you're trying to get lit, you want to go Chardonnay. This glass in particular, I've poured a glass of about 5 ounces of red wine. And this is what a typical glass of wine looks like. A glass is not filling it to the tip top, even though nobody usually has any complaints. The more you want, the more wine you put in the glass, right? But this is about 5 ounces of red wine. This is a glass of Cabernet Sauvignon. I implore you, if you ever trying to impress somebody, you got a hot, sexy date, you know, red wine, just knowing that you want some red wine, that's a beautiful start. That's honestly probably gonna impress a lot of people. But if you wanna like really put it on them, you know, if you really wanna get into it, you really want them to think like, oh, they know what they're talking about. Know what you like specifically. And you can go even further than like Cabernet. You can be like, I want a Napa cab. I want a cab from Napa Valley. I want a cab from Sonoma. You know, like just to know what you like. And in a later video, we'll get into the characteristics, the qualities of wines from specific regions. But right now, I keep forgetting that we got to get very specific. I keep trying to go broad, and we got to go just narrow down this road. We're going to taste this wine through 5 simple steps, okay? When I was a sommelier, we call them the 5 S's of wine tasting. So, with every glass of wine, remember this. You want to see, swirl, sniff, sip, and savor. It's a lot of... When I tell you, when I was a somm, I used to stress about not spitting on the person in front of me because see, swirl, sip, it's like... You know the episode of That's So Raven with the guy who says all the P's?
People, please. Settle, please. Tyrell, Patty, please.
Anywho. All right. That first S is to see our wine. I have my little paper towel here. Even though I have a white surface in front of me, just if you don't, you know, you got a napkin, you got a paper towel, that's your surface. You want something that you can like see your wine clearly through because we're seeing it. When we see the wine, we're looking at color, we're looking at body, and in a way, we're looking at alcohol content. Because I have a full glass of wine, it makes it a little more difficult, so you really want to be careful when you tip it over that you don't spill any of your wine, because that is alcohol abuse and we will not tolerate that. We will not have it though. So you want to make sure that you keep all your wine in your glass. But we're looking at color, we're looking at body. It kind of looks like my little beret, right? This is a nice, I would say cherry toned wine. We're looking at body. Body usually can tell us a little bit about the alcohol content. When we draw our wine back up, we'll see those droplets that fall along the side of the glass, and those are called legs. Legs and hips and body. So I'm not gonna hold y'all. This is a less expensive glass of wine, so it's not really, the legs are not really full. You know, they're not that vivacious. They're not that thick, you know? So the legs, they kind of fall pretty quickly, which people normally associate the faster that the legs fall, the lower the alcohol content is. So the thicker the legs are and how slow they fall usually tells you something about alcohol content, maybe even a little bit about sugar content in the wine. But you know, if you just care about the look and making sure that you appear sophisticated when you're out on the town and having a glass of wine, you want to tilt it over, take a look at them legs falling down, and that can be the end of it. You've seen our wine. We see it, it's there. Next, we want to swirl the wine. This might be a little more difficult too if you have a full glass, a little bit easier if you're like out on a tasting, but you want to be careful. You don't want to spill any of it. But this is like, I don't want to shade anybody, whatever level you're on when it comes to wine. We love it. You know, it's cultural. It's, to me, wine, I'm about to get into it, but wine is that intersection between like history and culture and art. So much of the land, of the cultivation over years and years to create wine that, what was I even saying that for? I don't even know. But we swirl it. I'm sure it'll come back to me. We swirling it. This is opening up the aromas. This is opening up the flavors of the wine. It's been stuck up in that bottle, especially if you got you a nice, good aged wine. It's been in that bottle for maybe years. So you want to let it breathe. You want to let it open up. It's like when you wake up in the morning and you take a stretch, you know, it's like you're opening up the wine so that you can get the full experience, you know? So we swirl it. This is the beginner's level. I call it the beginner's level of swirling. And then we can get into some wrist action. We put it all in the wrist. Put it all in the wrist. And when you put it in the wrist, it brings it closer to your face too, so you can go ahead and get started on our next step, which is to sniff the wine. And when we sniff our wine, we are looking for few, like a few people in a room, right? We call it few. We're looking for fruit, earth, or wood, or a combination of the three. So when we sniff it and you hear people say like, getting some black cherry on this, a little date, a little fig, that's the few. They're looking for the fruit in it, you know? Then they'll say, I'm getting a little, what's a good example of earth? I'm getting long grass, I'm getting leather, I'm getting rock. I don't know. I was never good with earth. I ain't gonna hold you, because I'm like, earth, what can I pull out? Unless it just comes to you like herbs sometimes. Sometimes a wine is herby. I've had some, that's actually one of my favorite red wines. Some that give off an herbaceous feel. And I think it was a Pinot Noir I had from Water's Edge Winery in Richmond, Texas, that I was like, I can't remember the name of the wine. Ooh, if I think about it, Romeo. If you're ever in Richmond, Texas, and you can stop by Water's Edge Winery and Bistro, Romeo, I love a lot. I'm pretty sure it's a Pinot, I could be wrong, a Pinot Noir, but it was so herby and it was still light. It was just delicious in my opinion. And you got those fruit notes on it too. Anyway, back to what we were talking about. So fruit, earth, or wood. And then wood is last. So somebody might sniff it and say, Oh, I get some pine on this one, or some wine is aged in wood. At Pure Noir Urban Wineries in Houston, Texas, they have a lot of wines that are aged in French oak. So you might taste literally oak when you have the wine, or sniff oak when you have the wine. On the nose on this one, let's see. It's really juicy on the nose. Like really juicy. It's a little acidic too, which I don't love. I get cherry. I get some cherry. Now next we're gonna actually sip our wine. See, y'all be thirsty, right? Y'all just be going in for the sip. You have to embrace the glass like in a well-rounded fashion. You know, you gotta get the full experience of your glass of wine. So we've seen it, we swirled it, we sniffed it, and next we sip it. And even after we sip it, that's not the end. Okay? So now we're ready to sip, right? And when I sip it, I'm gonna go back to few. Because when I sniffed it, honestly, I didn't get much outside of just fruit. It's like a little woodsy. A little woodsy. Oh, here's another thing. When you sip your wine, we don't want to take it straight back. We want to let it linger. We want it to hit every taste bud. And I will warn you, you probably never drank wine like that, like swished it around in your mouth. It can be a little abrasive at first because it's gonna like really, it's gonna hit them taste buds like, you know, like bop, 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 is gonna hit those taste buds. So you wanna, you know, I just wanna warn you. But swish it around, even chew the wine. Some people do a technique where they chew the wine to get that mouth feel of it. How does it feel in your mouth? How's the body of the wine? Some people do this thing where they like, when the wine's in their mouth, draw in more air to aerate it a little bit further, to add some more oxygen to the wine. So I'm gonna kind of show y'all how, when I'm really doing it, how I do it. Okay. Okay. So again, I get a little cherry, even a little raspberry on the palate with this one. It is, like I said, it's woodsy, but I'm not a horticulturist, so I don't really know all the trees that are in the forest. So I'm just gonna leave it at it's a little woodsy. When it comes to earth, I'm not the earth girl unless it's really giving herbs, it's giving thyme, it's giving rosemary. You know, I'm more of a fruit girl. I'm not gonna hold you. When I sip wine, I'm looking for the fruit. I'm looking for what fruit notes I get. You might not be like me in that sense. That's where my brain goes. So I don't really dwell on the earth and on the wood unless it's like pronounced, you know? But another thing to note when it comes to red wines, they are usually, the bigger in body you go, the more high they are in tannins. So tannins are that chemical in grape, for whatever reason this word always escapes me, grape shells, grape skin. No, I can't think of the word skin, but when it comes to grape skins, they have a chemical called tannins, and tannins are that thing that make wine kind of bitter or have like an after effect of like velvet in your mouth when you like lick your teeth or your cheeks or even your tongue. The tannins will kind of linger and just give like maybe like a gritty or a velvety feel. So yeah, that's just something to know. If you ever hear people talk about tannins when it comes to wine, or you taste the wine and it's highly tannic, typically we're looking at our cabs or bigger body merlots or maybe zinfandels or Shiraz. Same thing, different region. When we talk about tannins, we're talking about our like big body babies, you know? So this one, tannic for sure. definitely tannic. And we have made it all the way to our last S. So that last S is to savor. That last S is to savor the wine. So that's just taking a second to reflect on it. Notice how our mouth feels about it. Do we like it? What's our takeaway from the wine? Would you drink this wine again? How do you feel? That's usually like the moment when, if you're on a date with someone, you take a sip and you look over like, babe, I like this. I think we need this. We need like 3 bottles to take home. That's that moment. That's that. What do you taste? I don't know. I get a little like plum on this one, a little blueberry. What do you get? And he's like, he said something really random because for whatever reason, I don't know what it is, but when I did wine tasting, it was usually guys who tasted random ass shit on the glass. They'd be like, oh, it tastes like a book cover. Like, I don't know. They'll be like, oh, it tastes like church pews, like the most random stuff. And I just be like, okay, I could see how you would feel that way. But that's that moment when you savoring it, that you discovering what you like. Because when you go out wine tasting, that's what it's really about, in my opinion, is experiencing wine culture, but also figuring out where you stand in the wine world. Like, do I even like wine? Is this the type of wine I like? Do I need to try other wines? Do we need to do this again next weekend? Like, those are the questions you ask yourself when you're having wine. Yeah, this was a wine tasting of sorts. This was the 5 S's of wine tasting, how to properly taste a glass of wine. I hope this was helpful. I hope y'all don't chew me up in the comments if I said anything you don't agree with. That's just what I've learned. I don't know it all when it comes to wine, but I know a few things and I feel like they're useful. So yeah. Subscribe, like, comment, share. You can comment, but keep it cute. Keep it cute in the comments, okay? No, I'm playing. Like, y'all say whatever y'all want to say because y'all not going to see me regardless. But anyway, and I want to say too that like the way I presented myself today was a little bit intentional because I'm a Black woman talking about wine, right? I don't want to dress it up and make it seem as if wine is this. I mean, it is sophisticated. It's a cultural thing. It's cultured. But I still wanted to give my own personal twist on what it is because I don't know. I feel like if we look at it as this like, ooh, sort of thing, we kind of shy away from it or we feel like we're not seen there when, let me tell you, we are in the wine space. I know people with wine businesses, their own wine. I know people selling wine. I know people who are in freaking France studying wine who are all Black. So it's not as if like we just don't exist in this space. We are. I see it happen. I feel it happening that we are coming into the space of wine and might be taking over. So this was just a few tips for you to get started on your own wine journey. I hope you enjoyed and I'll see y'all next time.